The junk ship sat alone under the twin moons, its cracked metal body covered in dust and dried oil. No one wanted it. It's too old, too broken, too useless. But Drew, the human scavenger, saw something different. Not beauty, but maybe potential. Maybe enough parts to sell for food credits he bought it cheap. Just a few chips and a promise not to blame the seller if it exploded. Drew climbed inside with a flashlight clutched in one hand and a scanner in the other. The cold metal creaked. Under his boots, the silence inside wasn't peaceful. It felt like the ship was holding its breath. He stepped over fallen pipes, broken wires, and burned-out panels. No power, no warmth, not even life support. It's just the scent of burnt circuits and old blood. Then, from deep inside the corridor, something moved. Not loud, just a small scratching sound. He stopped. It wasn't the ship groaning. It wasn't. Rats it was. Softer, he followed the sound, flashlight shaking slightly in his hand. The scanner showed no life signs, but the scratching didn't stop. He reached a sealed door, dented, scarred, frozen shut. Drew pressed his ear to the cold surface. Nothing. Then tap, tap, tap. Faint, weak like fingertips. His heartbeat picked up. He placed a small charge on the lock and stepped back. A short hiss, then a spark, and the door slid open with a painful screech. Behind it was a tiny compartment. Almost a storage space. And inside it, curled up in the corner, was a girl. Not human. She was alien, clearly. Skin faintly glowing in pale blue, thin arms wrapped around her knees, hair tangled, eyes closed. She wore no clothes. Only a ripped net clung to her shoulders, and a torn blanket barely covered her legs. She wasn't moving. Drew dropped to one knee and reached out slowly. She flinched. Her eyes opened, golden. She looked at him like he was a monster. Her lips moved, but her voice came out as air. He removed his jacket and placed it over her. "You're safe," he said softly, not sure she understood. She blinked slowly, like she was trying to remember how to live. He lifted her gently. Her body was cold, too cold. Bones pressed through her skin. She weighed almost nothing. She didn't resist. She didn't speak. He carried her back to his rover, placing her near the heater. She didn't take her eyes off him the whole time. Drew handed her water. She tried to lift it, but her hand shook too much. He helped her drink. "What's your name?" he asked. No answer. "What happened to you?" She stared at the floor. Then as the heat warmed her face, her lips parted. "One word," she whispered, voice raw like dry leaves. "Hide." Drew froze. "Hide from what?" he asked. But she closed her eyes. Her breathing slowed. Her body relaxed, but not fully. Even asleep, she looked like she was expecting pain. He turned to look at the ship again. What was she doing inside a locked chamber? How did she survive with no food, no warmth? He stepped back toward the ship, scanning the walls now with full attention. Hidden panels, covered symbols, scratches like claws on the inside of the cargo bay, and more, a symbol carved near. The sealed room, circle with a broken line through it. He didn't recognize it. It's not human. Not from any species he knew. Drew uploaded a photo of the mark to his scanner's database. No results. He walked back toward her. She was awake again, eyes open but distant. "Ship," she said softly, "was my home." Drew sat beside her, confused but calm. "Are you the crew?" She shook her head. "Cargo," she whispered. Drew frowned. "Cargo. Like a prisoner?" She nodded. "But I hid," she added, "and when the ship broke, I didn't know if anyone would come." She looked at him for the first time. Really looked. "You're not one of them," she said. He nodded slowly. "I'm human." Her eyes widened. "I heard of your kind," she said. "You're not supposed to be kind." Drew gave a dry chuckle. "I surprise people." A faint smile touched her lips, then vanished. Outside, a soft hum filled the air. Drew looked toward the ship. Its lights were flickering. He hadn't touched the controls. He stepped forward, inside. The broken ship was glowing softly as if waking up. And on the main console, where no power had worked for years, One word appeared in a language he didn't know, but somehow he understood it. Awakened. He turned back to the girl. She was sitting up now, her golden eyes glowing brighter, her voice firmer. "I wasn't supposed to survive," she said. "Now that I have, others will come." Drew felt a chill despite the heater. "Who?" he asked. She stared at the metal walls of the ship and said, "The ones who sealed me here." Then she whispered again, "Hide." Drew didn't sleep that night. The ship he had bought for scrap, the one that was dead for decades, had powered itself. Not fully, not smoothly, but enough to send a warning through his spine. Lights blinked in places with no wires. Screens showed language he couldn't read, yet he felt its meaning. One word repeated again and again, linked. Inside the rover, the alien girl was wrapped in a thick blanket, resting. Her body looked fragile, like someone who hadn't eaten in weeks. But her eyes, when they opened, were full of something sharp. Something old. Something that didn't match the weak shell around it. She sat up slowly and watched Drew pour water into a cup. "You speak my language," she said. "I don't," Drew replied. "But I understand you somehow." She nodded, as if she already knew. "It's the ship. It's touching your mind now." Drew stared. "The ship is alive." She shook her head. "Not alive, it remembers. It reaches out when it feels someone. Like you? Like me? Someone with no passed on record, no bindings, no link to any empire." She stood, her legs trembling. He helped her balance. She didn't thank him. Instead, she walked slowly to the ship again. "No," Drew said. "It's not safe." She didn't stop. The cold air pressed against her skin as she moved toward the old ramp. Her bare feet touched the dusty metal. The moment she stepped inside, the air changed, not warmer, but charged. Panels lit up. Screens glowed blue. Drew followed, unsure whether to feel afraid or amazed. She placed her hand on the wall. It lit under her touch. Symbols appeared around her palm. It's the same ones Drew saw before. She turned to him. "This ship was a temple once," she said. "Then a prison." "A prison for you?" he asked. "No," she said. "For what I carry." Drew blinked. "I don't understand." She looked at him carefully. "They call my kind the binders. We were trained to connect with memory systems of ancient ships. One binder per core." Drew tilted his head. "Wait, you mean the ship has a memory core, and you were supposed to control it?" "No," she said. "Not control, become." "Part of it." He stepped back. "That sounds like death." She smiled sadly. "It is, in most cases. But the ship rejected all the others. They didn't survive, and you did. I hid, refused the merge. They punished me, locked me away, but the ship never let me go. It waited." She walked to the center console. The lights shifted color, becoming softer. The ship was responding to her. Then something strange happened. A low vibration ran through the floor. Drew's ears popped. The air got heavier. "What's happening?" he asked. She touched the console again. "The ship wants to bond with you too." He stepped back quickly. "Why me?" "'Cause you helped me." "Because you touched me with no chains, no demand?" "I just gave you water and a jacket." She nodded. "That's more than any other species ever gave." Drew laughed nervously. "This is crazy." "It's not crazy." She said, "Chosen." Before he could speak, a loud chime echoed from the ship's comms. Drew looked at the screen. A signal, encrypted. "Unknown origin." She turned to him, suddenly pale. "They found me." "Who?" "The ones who made me. The ones who want to erase me." The screen shifted to show an incoming craft. It's not human, not registered. Silent, dark, approaching fast. "We have to run," she said. "The ship can't fly," Drew replied. "It's broken." She walked to the side panel and pulled open a hidden slot. Inside was a long crystal, cracked but glowing faintly. "The core is still here, fused to me." She placed it into the panel. The ship shook. Lights flared. Then, stillness. Engines groaned like something trying to wake from a long sleep. The ship rose an inch off the ground, hovered, then dropped again. "It's not enough," she said. "It needs more. It needs a voice it trusts." She looked at Drew. His stomach dropped. "No," he said. "I'm not. Whatever you think I am." She stepped closer. "You are human. That's enough." Drew looked into her eyes and saw something terrifying. Not danger, but hope that he could be what she needed. Another chime. The unknown ship was closer. "I don't know how to fly." "This," he said. "You don't have to," she whispered. "Just touch the core with me." They moved together toward the console. Her hand glowed as she reached forward. Drew raised his own, still unsure, and touched the side of the crystal beside hers. A shock ran through him. Images, memories, stars he'd never seen, voices that weren't his, screams, fire, silence. Then, peace. The ship rose again. This time it didn't fall. Outside, the enemy craft dropped from orbit. Inside, alien girl whispered, "You woke it." And the ship answered in both their minds, not in words, but in feeling, "We are not broken anymore." The ship drifted through the sky like it had been born again, even though its hull was cracked and its engines groaned like old bones. Inside the cockpit, Drew sat frozen in the pilot's chair, breathing heavily. His hand still tingled from the touch of the crystal. His thoughts felt crowded. His memories were his own. But something else now pulsed under the surface. Like whispers coming from behind a closed door, the alien girl stood beside him. Silent. Not shivering anymore. Not scared. She wasn't just recovering. She was becoming something else. Stronger. Brighter. And Drew had no idea what that meant. He turned toward her slowly. "I need to know your name," said. She didn't look at him. Her eyes were locked on the stars outside the cracked view screen. "I don't have one anymore," she replied. "That can't be true." "It was taken from me when they sealed me in the dark," she said. "Only my kind can name themselves. Again, once the ship accepts them back." He stared at her glowing hands. "Then name yourself." She finally turned to him. "I will," she said softly, "when I deserve it." The ship gave a low hum, not mechanical, not artificial, like a heartbeat, live but sleeping. Drew stood and walked around the cockpit, trying to ignore the buzzing behind his eyes. He saw new panels lit, systems blinking, and a faint humming coming from deep below the floor. "This ship was broken," he said. "You said it couldn't fly." "It couldn't," she answered, "until you touched the core." Drew laughed once, short and confused. "I don't even know what I did." You gave it something it lost long ago. Purpose. Before he could reply, a sudden sound echoed from the back of the ship. A bang, followed by another. He reached for a tool from his belt. The girl stepped beside him. "I locked the back doors." "Wait," she whispered. "But something's inside." "You mean someone?" She nodded. "There were others on this ship, long before it was junked." Drew swallowed. "I thought you were the only survivor." She looked down. "I thought so too." They moved carefully through the hall. Lights flickered as they walked, not from power shortage, but as if the ship was trying to warn them without words. Then they reached the cargo bay. The door was half open. Metal warped and burnt. Drew stepped inside first. He stopped on the floor. Lay two skeletons, wrapped in dark armor, helmets shattered. Ribs bent inward, like they had exploded from inside. One of the skulls still had glowing red implants where eyes should have been. Drew looked back at her. She didn't flinch. "They were guards," she said. "Not for protection, but to make sure no one came near the core. They died on the ship." She stepped forward and touched the metal near them. The ship rejected them. Drew was about to ask more when he noticed something strange. A symbol etched into the floor. A triangle made of 3 twisting serpents, each biting the next. He pointed. "What's that?" She froze. "That wasn't there before. Who drew it?" "I don't know," she whispered. The ship let out a long mechanical groan, not random but deliberate. The lights shifted red. Drew's scanner buzzed. Life form detected. He looked. Around, no movement. Then the girl grabbed his wrist. "You need to see something," she said. She pulled him back to the sealed chamber where he first found her. Behind the wall was a second panel hidden. She opened it with a touch. Inside was a black sphere floating an inch above a small pedestal. "What is that?" "It's my curse," she said, "and your warning." Drew stared at it. The sphere shimmered like it was made of liquid and stars. "This is a memory vault," she explained, "from my people. Before the war," she tapped the side. The sphere lit up. Images burst into the air, not holograms, memories. A battlefield, screaming, hundreds of alien children dragged into ships, a council arguing. Words he didn't understand, but feelings he did. Fear, betrayal, sacrifice, then her, a younger version of the girl. Kneeling, alone, marked, chosen. The memory froze. She turned to him. "I was the last child born to the binders," she said. "I was not meant to fight. I was meant to merge." With a warrior, Drew looked confused, like a partner, more than that. "We were trained to become one mind, the binder and the blade. But my blade never came. So they tried to erase me. Why?" "Because a binder without a blade is dangerous," she whispered. "She can choose who to merge with."
Oh.
Drew felt cold. "You mean the ship wants?" "Me. As the blade." She nodded. Double quotes, "And now that you've touched the core, the bond has started." He stepped back. "I didn't ask for this." She smiled for the first time, but it wasn't joyful. Neither did I. Outside the ship, another sensor blared. A signal approaching unknown class. Unregistered, but fast. She turned toward the sound, her face hard. "They found us again." Drew stood frozen. The ship began to glow again. This time brighter. The core was waking up, and this time it wasn't asking permission. The ship's hull trembled as the enemy approached. Drew stood in the cockpit, staring at the blinking red light on the console. It pulsed faster with each second, marking the distance of the unknown craft as it closed in. It wasn't a broadcast signal. It wasn't even a warning. It was a challenge. The alien girl stood beside him, silent. Her golden eyes locked on the flashing light like she knew exactly what was coming. "They're not just hunters," she said. "They are Purgeborn." Drew turned. "Who?" She didn't blink. "The ones who made me. The ones who made the others. When our kind tried to escape, the Purgeborn were created, bred from ash and steel, trained not to protect, but to erase." Drew's stomach twisted. "You're telling me something non-human just picked up our signal, and now they're coming to wipe out everything you are?" She nodded. "And you now?" The words hung heavy in the air. Drew leaned forward on the console. "I still don't know why this ship listens to me. I don't know why I'm bonded." "You gave it choice," she replied. "The Purgeborn never allowed that." Before he could speak again, the ship shuddered. A low alarm echoed through the hull. The screen changed now, showing a dark vessel emerging from low orbit. Its body was like a blade, long and black. No lights, no windows, only movement. Drew scanned it. No ID, no engine signature, but it was fast. Too fast. The girl walked toward the center of the bridge. She placed both hands on a raised panel. "The ship remembers them," she whispered. "Even after all these years." Drew's voice was low. "Can we run?" She closed her eyes. "We could, if the engines were fully awake. But they are still recovering, so we fight." She turned slowly. "No, we hide." Drew raised an eyebrow in an open sky. "Not in space," she said, "inside the ship itself." Before he could argue, the panel under her fingers opened. A circular hatch revealed a deep chamber below. "What is that?" "The memory well," she said. "It's not for travel, it's for shielding. A place where thought bends. Time slows. And even hunters forget what they were looking for." Drew hesitated. The ship groaned again. The dark vessel now hovered just a few clicks away. It was scanning, slowly, patiently. "They can't find you. If your thoughts aren't clear," she said, You must want to vanish. Drew stepped toward the chamber. What about you? I was born in shadow, she said. I can guide you through it. He looked at her one last time. Let's do it. They descended together into the chamber. The moment the hatch closed above them, the world changed. There was no floor. Number. Walls. Only light. But not from outside. From memory. Drew felt his mind stretch. Thoughts slipped out of order. He remembered things from years ago. His father's voice. Burning campfire. His own face as a child. Then something else. Not his memory. A girl, kneeling before a council of faceless figures. Voice saying, "She is incomplete." In pain. His hand jerked. The alien girl reached out and grabbed him. Stay grounded. She said, the well is not safe for minds without anchors. Blinked hard and held her arm. Is this how you survived? She nodded slowly. I lived here in this light while my body slept. It's how I stayed hidden all these years. Outside, time passed differently. The black vessel scanned the ship, but the ship's signal had vanished. Its systems read the hull as a drifting rock. No energy, no minds. No heat. It circled twice, then turned away. Back in the well, Drew gasped. As the light dimmed, he fell to his knees, sweating. How long were we down there? The girl helped him up. For us, moments. Hours. Drew pulled himself out of the chamber and returned to the cockpit. The enemy ship was leaving. He watched it fade into the darkness. No engines, no trail. Silent, she stepped beside him. This won't be the last time, she said. Now that you've bonded, they will never stop. Drew turned toward her. What are they really afraid of? She walked to the glowing core and touched it gently. They fear the return of the binders. And worse, they fear one of your kind becoming one. He stared at the floating crystal as it pulsed brighter. What happens if I complete the bond? She paused, then looked up. You stop being just human. You become chosen. Outside, deep space was silent again, but far beyond. Another signal lit up. A chain of ships, older than the Purge-born, stirred from sleep, and one by one. They whispered a name that hadn't been spoken in 100 years. The blade has awakened. The stars outside were calm again, but the silence didn't feel safe. Drew sat in the ship's cockpit, still sweating from the memory well. His heartbeat had slowed, but something inside him hadn't returned to normal. The connection between him and the ship was stronger now. It was no longer just light or whispers, it was instinct. He could feel the vessel breathe through the walls. The alien girl stood near the core, her hands still glowing faintly. She looked calm, but not peaceful, someone waiting for the next storm. You didn't just hide me, Drew said. You showed me something I wasn't ready for. She didn't turn. You survived, she replied. That means you were always ready. He stood and walked to her slowly. I saw things in there. Memories that weren't mine. They're shared now, she said. The ship chose you. And it wants you to see what came before. Not to haunt you, but to prepare you. Drew's hand brushed against the core. This time it didn't shock him. It welcomed him. He closed his eyes for just a second, and the ship showed him a vision. A vast armada, dark ships, endless in number, floating above a burning planet. Screams echoed through space, not from voices, but from the minds of those left behind. And one ship broke away. This ship running, bleeding, but carrying something inside it, a girl. When Drew opened his eyes, he was breathing hard. This ship was escaping something. Big, he said. Not just a war, a cleansing. She nodded. My people called it the silence. They didn't want power. They wanted control over what could never speak again. And the ship. It was a lifeboat for what they feared. Most free will. Suddenly the ship shook. Not like before. This was power. A deep, rising hum filled the chamber. Panels slid open. Gears unlocked. The ship was waking. Truly waking. What's happening? Drew asked. She turned to him, her eyes glowing brighter than ever. It's responding. To you it knows you're ready now, but I didn't do anything. You accepted the truth. Lights along the floor lit one by one, leading them down a hall neither of them had opened before. Drew followed her in silence. At the end was a large chamber, circular, with a pillar rising from the center. Round it were ancient symbols, drawn in gold, moving like rivers of light. "This is the helm," she said. "Not the one you see on the bridge, the real helm." Drew stepped closer. "Why does it feel like it's breathing?" "'Cause it is," she said. "This ship was once bonded to two minds, a blade and a binder. Without both, it sleeps. With both, it rises." He stared at the floating pillar. A seat formed from the metal, shaped by invisible hands. "Sit," she said. He hesitated. "Are you sure?" "No," she replied, "but I believe." Drew stepped forward and sat down. The metal closed gently around him, not trapping, holding. The lights rose, and then, without touching anything, every corridor, every engine room, every scratch on the hull, every star outside. He was the ship now, and she was beside him, glowing like a flame. He felt her thoughts, her past, her fear, her strength. He didn't just hear her voice. He felt it move through him, and together they reached into the ship's broken systems and called it back to life. The engines, once silent, now roared deep below, thrusters realigned. Weapons unfolded from hidden ports, and the ship, the one everyone thought was junk, now floated like a beast, waking from 100 years of sleep. Outside, another alert blinked, 3 more signals. Not the Purgeborn. "Worse. These are not scouts," she whispered. "They're collectors. What do they want? They want the core, and they'll rip it from our bones to take it." Drew's jaw tightened. "Then we give them a reason to fear again." He stood from the helm. The ship followed his. Movement, shifting, adjusting. The screens lit up with targeting data. She turned toward him. "You're changing," she said. He looked down at his hand. It was glowing, just like hers. "You started it," he replied. Outside, the enemy ships broke from orbit, fast, sharp, hungry. But this time, the junk ship didn't run. Drew took the command panel in both hands. "Let's see what your old heart can still do." She smiled for the first time, not sad, not broken, but proud. The heart is ready, was only waiting for someone to beat with it. As the first enemy ship locked on, Drew whispered the words the ship had buried in. "It's code. Awaken fully." The ship responded with fire. The air was heavy inside the ship, like it was breathing faster than before. Outside, the enemy vessels had formed a triangle, circling like predators. But this time, the junk ship didn't run. It hovered in silence, as if daring them to strike. First, Drew stood in the heart of the living helm, his hands still glowing from the last surge. The core pulsed behind him, no longer hidden or quiet. It was awake now, alive, waiting. And so was she. The alien girl stepped forward, her bare feet silent against the metal floor. Her eyes glowed with a warm fire, and her voice no longer trembled. "This ship wasn't meant to fly again without a full bond," she said. "But now it wants more." Drew turned. What more could it want? She looked straight into him. "You." The word hit him harder than any laser blast. "I already gave it everything," he said. "My thoughts, my trust. What else is left?" "Your soul," she whispered. "Your entire being." Drew took a step back. "That sounds like death." She walked closer, not threatening, but full of something ancient, something sacred. "It's not death. It's fusion. It's a binder in the blade. We're never two pilots. They were one. One mind in two bodies, till the bond burns the line away." Drew stared at her. "You bonded before?" She shook her head. "I was too young. The one meant for me died before he could reach the ship." She paused. "They made me watch him burn." A silence fell between them. Not cold, heavy. Real. Drew took a breath. "What happens if I bond fully?" She didn't lie. "You lose control of your past. You feel what I feel. You become part of what I am." He nodded slowly. "And you feel what I feel?" "Yes," she said. "Even pain, even love, even death. A sudden alarm blared through the chamber. The enemy had charged their weapons. Outside, light flared from the 3 ships. 1 second left, maybe 2. Drew looked at her one last time. Then let's do it. She raised her hand. He took it, and the ship reacted like thunder waking from sleep. The core split open, not broken, but unfolding like a blooming star. Light poured from it, surrounding them. They didn't fall, they didn't float. Drew gasped. Every thought rushed into his mind. Her memories, her voice, her sorrow, her fire. He saw her childhood, her loneliness, her silent prison. He saw her locked in the dark while the world forgot her. She saw his pain too. The hunger in the mining colonies. The broken promises. The faces he'd buried and never spoken of. They were no longer strangers. They were one. The ship shuddered. Not. From damage, from rebirth, its wings shifted, sharp edges sliding from hidden panels. Its engines pulsed with a new rhythm. It no longer looked broken. It no longer felt. Lone, outside the enemy ship fired. A beam of pure heat roared toward them. But the junk ship moved first, not dodging, dancing. It spun through space like a living blade, leaving trails of light behind. The beam missed by a mile. Inside, Drew and the girl stood in the same spot, but their eyes glowed. Same color now. He didn't speak out loud. She didn't need to. They both felt the enemy before it moved. Together, they reached for the targeting system. That the ship locked on without delay. Drew lifted his arm. A panel of light formed under his fingers with one motion. They fired. The enemy ship vanished in a flash. Gone, no wreckage, no sound, only dust. The other 2 ships paused. They had never seen this ship fight. They had never seen it live, and they didn't know what it had become. Drew felt the power surge again. Deeper this time. He turned to her. Are we still us? She looked into his eyes and smiled faintly. Yes, she said. But now we are also more. Outside, the 2 enemy ships made their decision. They ran. Their engines flared as they vanished into deep space. The silence returned, but it was no longer cold. Drew stood still, his heart beating in rhythm with the core. He wasn't human anymore. Not fully. He wasn't machine either. He was something new, something made of memory, metal, and meaning. The alien girl, no longer broken, stepped beside him. We did what no one thought possible, she said. We woke a dead bond. He looked out the window, stars stretching in every direction. What now? She took his hand again. Now we give others a choice. He frowned. What choice? To be more than what they were told, she said. Like we were? Behind them, the ship adjusted course. Not random, not drifting. It was heading somewhere too, where the first binders were born, to where the war had started, and maybe where it would end. The stars ahead were older than memory. They didn't blink or shimmer. They burned steady, like eyes that had watched too many wars pass by. Drew stood in the bridge of the ship, no longer junk. It moved with grace now, silent and perfect, shaped by will instead of code. He could feel the engines pulse inside his chest, the ship's thoughts whispering through his blood. And she, the alien girl, was everywhere. She wasn't standing beside him anymore. She wasn't sitting in the corner with a blanket wrapped around her shoulders. She was in the walls now, in the light, in the ship. She had become what her kind feared, almost a binder without a chain. And Drew was her blade. He closed his eyes and reached out with his thoughts. Are you still here? Her voice answered inside him, soft and warm, always. The stars shifted as the ship changed course, not by manual control, but by intention. They were heading for a location she had hidden deep inside the ship's memory, a place called Cavros, the lost cradle of her people. It had been erased from star maps after the silence. It's buried beneath code and fear. It was where she was born, where her people were destroyed, and now, where they would return. Drew stood still as the ship began to slow. Cavros appeared in the distance, a dead world cracked and quiet, with black scars running across its surface. No ships orbited it, no life was detected. But the ship knew better. As they approached, Drew felt a deep sadness moving through the core. What is it? He asked her. Voice answered, This is where they took the last binders, where they used their minds to burn their own cities, where they forced them to kill what they loved. Drew gritted his teeth. Then why come back? Because something is still calling, something left behind. A message they never found. The ship reached orbit and stopped. Drew stepped down from the helm and walked to the front bay. A ramp opened, revealing a landing platform hidden beneath the dust of centuries. The sky was gray above, the ground cracked and lifeless. He walked forward, no weapon in hand, no armor, only memory guiding his steps. He didn't walk alone, though she had no body now. He could feel her footsteps beside his. They reached a pillar, tall, silver, covered in faded writing. The writing shimmered as he approached. A voice played, not hers, older, male, tired. Double quotes, If anyone finds this, know that the binders were not the monsters, we were the shield. And they broke us too. Take what we protected. The voice faded, another shimmer, another voice. This time, there's not the girl from the ship, but the child she once was. If I don't come back, please don't forget me. Drew touched the pillar. It opened. Inside was a chamber, and within it a pod. Dark, sealed, but not empty. Second core. Smaller, faint, still beating. Drew turned toward the empty air beside him. You knew this was here. I hoped it was. But I didn't know it still lived. He looked at the core. It's calling for a binder. And it cannot wake without one. Drew stepped back. You can leave this ship. And return to a body, can't you? She was silent. Yes. But I will forget the bond. I'll forget you. His breath caught. She continued. A binder cannot live as both. If I return, I must release the blade. Drew stood in silence. Then he smiled, slow and real. You were never meant to be trapped in metal. I chose this. But you were also a girl once, he said. Before the war, before the core, you deserve to live again. The ship trembled, not from danger, from decision. And you, she asked, I'll keep the ship warm. The core flickered, and then she was gone. A flash of light entered the new pod. The old lights faded. The new ones glowed, and the girl who once hid in a sealed room opened her eyes, alive, naked, weak. But smiling, he stepped toward her and wrapped his coat around her once more. Welcome back, said. She looked at him like she was seeing him for the first time. Who are you? He smiled sadly. No one. She touched his hand. Then why do I feel safe? He helped her out of the pod. The stars above Kavros began to shift. Across the galaxy, ships stirred. They had felt the awakening. But this time, they weren't coming to hunt. They were coming to kneel. Because the last binder was reborn, and the blade who helped her had made the galaxy remember what it meant to be human.